Paragraphs, Part 3, Transitions. What are transitions? Transitional words can signal levels of importance, connections, and the direction of thoughts. For example, after a friend begins a sentence with, "I like you very much," would you prefer that the next word be "and" or "however"? The word "and" signals more of the same, hinting that you could anticipate another pleasant compliment. On the other hand, "however" signals a change of thought, so brace yourself for a negative remark. If the next words were "consequently" or "therefore," you could anticipate a positive result or reward for the positive feelings. Such words are transitions and leads readers to anticipate the direction of a writer's thoughts. Transitions also reveal organizational patterns. In short, transitions are phrases or words used to connect one idea to the next, are used by the author to help the reader move from one significant idea to the next, show the relationship within a paragraph or within a sentence between the main idea and the support the author gives for those ideas. Why use transitions? Transitions serve as guide rails through someone else's logic. We all think differently, so it is helpful to use transitions to signal the direction of your thoughts. Like you use a turn signal in a car to let the car behind you know you are going left, transition signals which directions you are going as you present a series of ideas and arguments to someone not familiar with your reasoning. How can I best use transitions? Being familiar with different transitions and logical direction of each signal is the first step in using them effectively in your writing. Additions, providing additional examples. Furthermore, also, moreover, in addition. Cause and effect, showing one element as producing or causing a result or effect. Because, for this reason, hence. Concessions, acknowledging the merits of the counter argument before reasserting an opinion. Granted that, even though, while. Illustration, explaining using examples. For example, for instance, to illustrate. Comparison, listing similarities among items. Similarly, likewise, in the same manner. Contrast, listing differences among items. However, more than, on the other hand. Definition, defining a concept and expanding with examples and restatements. Can be defined, for example, in short. Descriptions, listing characteristics or details using vivid language. Could be described as like. Location or spatial orders, identifying the whereabouts of objects or people. Next to, below, above. Narration or time order, listing events in order of occurrence. First, second, finally. Simple listing, randomly listing items in a series. Another, several, for example. Summary, condensing major points. In conclusion, to restate, to sum up. Practice, inserting appropriate transitional words. 1. Complete the following sentences with an appropriate transition. Many people think that heavy fishing of a lake will eventually cause a serious depletion of the stock of fish. In a lake with a limited food supply, heavy fishing often increases the fish supply. 2. I didn't finish my homework. I'm behind in the reading and I didn't study for the exam today. I think I'm going to fail the class and have to take it again. 3. The torrential rains in the Los Angeles area were highly destructive to the economy. The rains brought much needed water to the farmers. The destruction to the property and crops were enormous. 4. Today, college women are finding many acceptable alternatives to the graduate and get married pattern of the past. Many women are pursuing graduate degrees or joining the military. 5. She had acquired some bad habits over the years of impatience and procrastination. She started smoking and stopped working out. Possible answers. 1. Many people think that heavy fishing of a lake will eventually cause a serious depletion of the stock of fish. However, contrast. In a lake with a limited food supply, heavy fishing often increases the fish supply. 2. I didn't finish my homework, I'm behind in the reading, and I didn't study for the exam today. Therefore, cause effect. I think I'm going to fail the class and have to take it again. 3. The torrential rains in the Los Angeles area were highly destructive to the economy, even though, concession, the rains brought much needed water to the farmers, the destruction to the property and crops was enormous. 4. Today, college women are finding many acceptable alternatives to the graduate and get married pattern of the past. Many women, for example, illustration, are pursuing graduate degrees or joining the military. 5. She had acquired some bad habits over the years of impatience and procrastination. Furthermore, additional examples. She started smoking and stopped working out. Practice. Making paragraphs cohesive and logical using transitions. Add transitions and join sentences to make this disjointed paragraph unified and clear. You don't need to change the sequence of sentences. Obstetricians perform too many cesareans. They can schedule deliveries for their own convenience. They can avoid sleepless nights and canceled parties. They resort to cesareans in any difficult delivery to protect themselves against malpractice suits. Cesareans involve larger fees and hospital bills than normal deliveries. Cesarean patients spend about twice as many days in the hospital as other mothers. The National Institutes of Health confirmed that doctors were performing many unnecessary cesarean sessions. They suggested ways to reduce their use. The recommendation was widely publicized. The obstetricians apparently failed to take note. In 1985, the operation was performed in 16.5% of the United States births. In 1992, 24.7% of the births were cesareans. Possible answers. Obstetricians perform too many cesareans, so they can schedule deliveries for their own convenience, and they can avoid sleepless nights and cancel parties. Additionally, they resort to cesareans in any difficult delivery to protect themselves against malpractice suits. Moreover, cesareans involve large fees and hospital bills than normal deliveries because cesarean patients spend about twice as many days in the hospitals as other mothers. The National Institute of Health confirmed that doctors were performing many unnecessary sections. As a result, they suggested ways to reduce their use. The recommendation was widely publicized. Nevertheless, the obstetricians apparently failed to take note. In 1985, the operation was performed in 16.5% of the United States births. Yet, in 1992, 24.7% of the births were cesareans. Transitions come in phrases too. Transitions can be in the form of words like however, furthermore, meanwhile, but they can also come in the form of phrases like not only X, but also Y, and if X, then Y. Sometimes you'll provide a full sentence to move your reader from one idea to the other. As a result of Malcolm X forging his own education, he learns many things that are not taught in the typical classroom, which inspires him to fight for change. This moves the discussion from Malcolm X learning to read, to write, to what he learned, to what he did. Here are some examples of transitional phrases. To explain something further, examples of this are to say this is another way, in line with that. To say it is true in only one direction. The converse is not true. This only goes in one direction. This is only true in this instance. To say that something is true in both directions. The converse is also true and vice versa. Transitions comes in phrases too. When you have given your conclusion first and want to then give your evidence, support, justification for it. The evidence for is, the reasons for is, are. One can see this because. To link together similar things, whether idea or reasons. You can number them, the following n things, and then number them or not number them, whichever seems more appropriate. In the same vein, along with that, not only X, but also Y. To change topics, moving on to a different point, considering something totally different now, returning from the digression. When what you have presented leads up to or supports or makes a case for what you are about to say. We can see from the previous that, because of the previous, we can see that. When you're going to contradict what has been said before or contradict what you are about to say, in spite of this, or in spite of the fact that, unfortunately, that does not. To show a cause and effect relationship. Since X is true, Y is true. Because of X, Y, given that X, Y, factoring in that X, Y. Identifying transitional words and phrases. Using one of the body paragraphs from the essay of Frederick Douglass, Narrative of a Life of Frederick Douglass, underline all the transitional words and the transitional phrases. After secretly learning to read and write on his own, Douglass discovered that freeing his mind led to anguish, torment, as he was unable to free himself from the entrenched institution of slavery, but change was set in motion. Being awakened to the stark realities of his condition only served to plunge Douglass into despair. As I read and contemplated the subject, behold, that very discontentment which Master Hugh had predicted would follow my learning to read had already come, to torment and sting my soul to unutterable anguish. Once Douglass's eyes were open, he invariably suffered. I would at times feel that learning to read had been a curse rather than a blessing. It had given me a way of my wretched condition without the remedy. It opened my eyes to the horrible pit, but to no ladder upon which to get out. In moments of agony, I envied my fellow slaves for their stupidity. So is ignorance bliss? The answer for us to live in a fair and decent world has to be no, never. To be ignorant allows others not only to make choices for you, but to limit your choices without you even realizing it. Not knowing the factors and people who shape your life enables those in power to act in their own self-interest and have no accountability when doing so. It also makes people unable to recognize when they are victimized by unjust situations. And if you cannot see the problem, then you can never demand or bring about change. After Douglass understood the evils of slavery, he suffered initially and even entertained thoughts of suicide. But later he escaped to the North and became an influential leader in the abolitionist movement and spent the remainder of his life fighting for the equality and rights of blacks as well as women. Possible answers. All the transitional words and phrases in the paragraphs have been underlined. For example, after secretly learning to read and write on his own, as, but, as. Once Douglas's eyes were opened, but, in moments of agony, so, and, not only, but, and, when, also, and if, then, after Douglas understood the evils of slavery, and even, but later, and, as well as. That concludes part 3 on paragraph.